Good morning, dear hearts. This is Bishop Edie, and you are now tuning in to Learn the Bible in a Year. Please stay tuned to the very end as I will explain these chapters. Genesis chapter 30. And when Rachel saw that she bare Jacob no children, Rachel envied her sister, and said unto Jacob, Give me children, or else I die. And Jacob's anger was kindled against Rachel. And he said, Am I in God's stead, who hath withheld thee from the fruit of the womb? And she said, Behold, my maid Bilhah, go in unto her, and she shall bear upon my knees, that I may also have children by her. And she gave him Bilhah her handmaid to wife. And Jacob went in unto her, and Bilhah conceived and bare Jacob a son. And Rachel said, God hath judged me, and hath also heard my voice, and has given me a son. Therefore called she his name Dan. And Bilhah, Rachel's maid, conceived again, and bare Jacob a second son. And Rachel said, With great wrestlings have I wrestled with my sister, and now I have prevailed. And she called his name Natillah. When Leah saw that she had left bearing, she took Zilpah, her maid, and gave her Jacob to wife. And Zilpah, Leah's maid, bare Jacob a son. And Leah said, A troop cometh, and she called his name Gad. And Zilpah, Leah's maid, bare Jacob a second son. And Leah said, Happy am I, for the daughters will call me blessed, and she called his name Asher. And Reuben went in the days of wheat harvest, and found mandrakes in the field, and brought them unto his mother Leah. Then Rachel said to Leah, Give me, I pray thee, of thy sons mandrakes. And she said unto her, Is it a small matter that thou hast taken my husband? And wouldest thou take away my son's mandrake also? And Rachel said, Therefore he shall lie with thee tonight for thy son's mandrakes. And Jacob came out of the field in the evening, and Leah went out to meet him, and said, Thou must come in unto me, for surely I have hired thee with my son's mandrakes. And he laid with her that night. And God hearkened unto Leah, and she conceived, and bare Jacob the fifth son. And Leah said, God has given me my hire, because I have given my maiden to my husband. And she called his name Issachar. And Leah conceived again, and bare Jacob the sixth son. And Leah said, God hath endured me with a good dowry. Now will my husband dwell with me, because I have borne him 6 sons. And she called his name Zebulun. And afterward she bare a daughter, and called her name Dinah. And God remembered Rachel, and God hearkened to her, and opened her womb. And she conceived, and bare a son. God had taken away my reproach. And she called his name Joseph, and said, The Lord shall add to me another son. And it came to pass, when Rachel had borne Joseph, that Jacob said unto Laban, Send me away, that I may go unto my own place, and to my country. Give me my wives and my children, for whom I have served thee, and let me go, for thou knowest my servants, that I have done thee. And Laban said unto her, I pray thee, if I have found favor in thy eyes, tarry, for I have learned by experience that the Lord has blessed me for thy sake. And he said, Appoint me thy wages, and I will give it. And he said unto him, thou knowest now how I have served thee, and how thy cattle was with me. For it was little which thou hadst before I came, and now increase unto a multitude, and the Lord has blessed thee since my coming. And now when I provide my own house also. And he said, shall I give thee? And Jacob said, thou shalt not give me anything. If thou wilt do this thing for me, I would again feed and keep my flock. I will pass through all my flock today, removing from thence all the speckled and spotted cattle, and all the brown cattle amongst the sheep, and spotted and speckled amongst the goats, and of such shall be my hire. So shall my righteous answer for me in the time to come, when it shall come for my hire before my face, every one that is not speckled and spotted amongst the goats, and brown amongst the sheep, that shall be counted stolen with me. And Laban said, behold, I would it might be according to thy word. And he removed thy day the he goats, and were ring-stringed and spotted, and all the she goats that were speckled and spotted, and every one that had some white in it, and all the brown amongst the sheep, and gave them into the hands of his son. And he sat 3 days journey betwixt himself and Jacob fed the rest of Laban's flocks. And Jacob took him rods of green poplar, and of the hazel and chestnut trees, and peeled white straps in them, and made the white appear which was in the rod. And he set the rods which he had peeled before the flocks in the gutters in the watering, when the flocks came to drink, and they could conceive when they came to drink. And the flocks conceived before the rods, and brought forth cattle ring-stringed, speckled, and spotted. And Jacob did separate the lambs, and set the face of the flocks towards the ring-string, and that all the brown in the flock of Laban, and he put his own flocks by themselves, and put them not unto Laban's cattle. And it came to pass whensoever the stronger cattle did receive, that Jacob laid the rods before the eyes of the cattle in the gutters, that they may conceive among the rods. But when the cattle were feeble, he put them not in. So the feebler were Laban, and the stronger Jacob's. And the man increased exceedingly, and had much cattle, and maid servant, and men servant, and camels, and asses. Genesis chapter 31. And he heard the words of Laban's sons, saying, Jacob hath taken away all that was our father's, and of that which was our father's had he gotten all his glory. And Jacob beheld the countenance of Laban, and behold, it was not toward him as before. And the Lord said unto Jacob, return into thy land of thy fathers, and to thy kindred, and I will be with thee. And Jacob sent and called Rachel and Leah to the field unto his flocks, and said unto them, I see your father's countenance, that it is not towards me as before. But the God of my father had been with me. And ye know that with all my power I have served your father. And your father had deceived me, and changed my wages 10 times. But God suffered him not to hurt me. If he said thus, the speckled shall be thy wages, then all the cattle bear speckled. And if he said thus, the ring-string shall be thy hire, then bear all the cattle ring-string. Thus God has taken away the cattle of your father and given them to me. And it came to pass at the time that the cattle conceived that I lifted up my eyes and saw in a dream, and behold, the rams which leaped upon the cattle were ring-stringed, speckled, and gristled. And the angels of God spake unto me in a dream, saying, Jacob. And I said, Here I am. And he said, Lift up now thine eyes, and see, all the rams which leap upon the cattle are ring-stringed, speckled, and gristled. For I have seen all that Laban doeth unto thee. I am the God of Bethel, where thou anointest the pillar, and where thou vow a vow unto me. Now arise and get thee out from this land, and return into the land of thy kindred. And Rachel and Leah answered and said unto him, Is there yet any portion or inheritance for us in our father's house? Are we not counted of him strangers? For he hath sold us, and had quite devoured also our money. For all the riches which God has taken from our father, that is ours and our children. Now then, whatsoever God has said unto thee, do. Then Jacob rose up and set his sons and wives upon camels. And he carried away all of his cattle and all his goods which he had gotten, the cattle of his getting which he had gotten in Padaran, for to go to Isaac his father in the land of Canaan. And Laban went to shear his sheep, and Rachel had stolen the image that were her father. And Jacob stole away unawares to Laban the Syrian, in that he told him not that he fled. So he fled with all that he had, and he rose up and passed over the river and set down his face towards the Mount Gilead. And it was told Laban on the third day that Jacob was fled. And he took his brethren with him and pursued after him 7 days' journey. And they overtook him in the Mount Gilead. And God came to Laban the Syrian in a dream by night, and said unto him, Take heed that thou speak not to Jacob either good or bad. Then Laban overtook Jacob. Now Jacob had pitched his tent in the mount, and Laban with his brethren pitched in the mount of Gilead. And Laban said unto Jacob, What hast thou done, that thou hast stolen away unawares to me, and carried away my daughters as captives, taken with the sword? Wherefore didst thou flee away secretly, and steal away from me, and did not tell me, that I might have sent thee away with mirth, and with songs, with tabret, and with harp? And hast not suffered me to kiss my sons and my daughter? Thou hast now done foolishly in so doing. It is in the power of my hand to do you hurt, but the God of your father spake unto me yesternight, saying, Take thou heed that thou speak not to Jacob either good or bad. And now, though thou wouldest needs be gone, because thou sore longest after thy father's house, yet wherefore hast thou stolen my goods? And Jacob answered and said to Laban, Because I was afraid, for I said, Peradventure thou wouldest take by force thy daughters from me. With whomsoever thou findest thy gods, let him not live, before our brethren discern thou what is thine with me, and take it to thee. For Jacob knew not that Rachel had stolen them. And Laban went to Jacob's tent, and into Leah's tent, and into the two maidservants' tent, but he found them not. Then he went out to Leah's tent, and entered into Rachel's tent. Now Rachel had taken the image, and put them in the camel's furniture, and sat upon them. And Laban searched all the tent, but found them not. And she said unto her father, Let it not displease my lord, that I cannot rise up before thee, for the custom of women is upon me. And he searched, but found not the images. And Jacob was wroth, and shawed with Laban. And Jacob answered and said to Laban, What is my trespass? What is my sin that thou hast so hotly pursued after me? Whereas thou hast searched all my stuff. What hast thou found in thy house? Set it here before my brethren and thy brethren, that they may judge between us both. This 20 years have I been with thee. Thy ewes and thy she-goats have not cast their youngs, and the rams of thy flocks have I not eaten. That which was torn of beasts I bought not unto thee. I bear the loss of it. Of my hand did thou require it, whether stolen by day or stolen by night. Thus I was in the day of the drought consumed me, and the frost by night, and my sleep departed from my eyes. Thus have I been 20 years in thy house. I have served thee 14 years for thy 2 daughters, and 6 years for thy cattle, and thou hast changed my wages 10 times. Except the God of my father, the God of Abraham, and the fear of Isaac had been with me, surely thou hast set me away now empty. God has seen my affliction and the labor of my hands, and rebuked thee yesternight. And Laban answered and said unto Jacob, These daughters are my daughters, these children are my children, these cattle are my cattle, and all that thou seest is mine. And what can I do this day unto these my daughters, or unto the children which they have borne? Now therefore come thou, let us make a covenant, I and thou, and let it be for a witness between me and thee. And Jacob took a stone and set it up for a pillar. And Jacob said unto his brethren, Gather stones. And they took stones and made a heap. And they did eat there upon the heap. And Laban called it Jegar-Shahadha, but Jacob called it Gilead. And Laban said, This heap is a witness between me and thee this day. Therefore was the name of it called Gilead and Mizpah, for he said, The Lord watch between me and thee, when we are absent from one another. If thou shalt afflict my daughters, or if thou shalt take other wives beside my daughters, no man is with us. See, God is witness between me and thee. And Laban said to Jacob, Behold this heap, behold this pillar which I have cast between me and thee. This heap be witness, and this pillar be witness, that I will not pass over this heap to thee, and that thou shalt not pass over this heap and this pillar unto me for harm. The God of Abraham and the God of Nahor, the God of their father, judge between us. And Jacob sware by the fear of his father Isaac. Then Jacob offered sacrifice upon the mount and called his brethren to eat bread. And they did eat bread and tarried all night in the mount. And early in the morning Laban rose up and kissed his sons and his daughters and blessed them. And Laban departed and returned unto his place. Genesis chapter 32. And Jacob went on his way, and the angels of God met him. And when Jacob saw them, he said, This is God's host. And he called the name of that place Mahanaim. And Jacob sent messengers before him to Esau his brother unto the land of Seir, the country of Edom. And he commanded them, saying, Thus shall ye speak unto my lord Esau, thy servant Jacob, with us I have sojourned with Laban, and stayed there unto now. And I have oxen and asses and flocks and men servant and women servant, and I have sent to tell my Lord that I may find grace in thy sight. And the messengers returned to Jacob, saying, We came to thy brother Esau, and also he cometh to meet us there, and 400 men with him. And Jacob was greatly afraid and distressed, and he divided the people that was with him, and the flocks and the herds and the camels into 2 bands, and said, If Esau come to the one company and smite it, then the other company which is left shall escape. And Jacob said, O God of my father Abraham, and God of my father Isaac, the Lord which saith unto me, Return into thy country and to thy kindred, and I will deal well with thee. I am not worthy of the least of all the mercies, and of all the truth which thou hast shown unto thy servant. For with my staff I passed over this Jordan, and now I am become 2 hands. Deliver me, I pray thee, from the hand of my brother, from the hand of Esau, for I fear him, lest he will come and smite me and the mother with the children. And thou sayest, I will surely do thee good, and make thy seed as sand of the sea, which cannot be numbered for multitude. And he lodged there the same night, and took of that which came to his hand a present for Esau his brother, 200 she-goats, and 20 he-goats, 200 ewes, and 20 rams, 30 milch camels with their colts, 40 kine, and 10 bulls, 20 she-asses, and 10 foals. And he delivered them into the hand of his servant, every drove by them, and said unto his servant, Pass over before me, and put a space between drove and drove. And he commanded the foremost, saying, When Esau my brother meeteth thee, and asks thee, saying, Whose art thou? And whither goest thou? And whose are these before thee? Then thou shalt say, They be thy servant Jacob. It is a present sent unto my lord Esau. And behold, also he is behind us. And so commanded he the second and the third, and all that followed the drove, saying, On this matter shall ye speak unto Esau when ye find him. And say ye moreover, Behold, my servant Jacob is behind us. For he said, I will appease him with the present that goeth before me, and afterward I will see his face, peradventure he will accept of me. So went the present over before him, and himself lodged that night in the company. And he arose up that night, and took his 2 wives and his 2 women servants and his 11 sons and passed over the ford Jabbok. And he took them and sent them over the brook and sent over that he had. And Jacob was left alone, and there wrestled a man with him until the breaking of the day. And when he saw that he prevailed not against him, he touched the hollow of his thigh, and the hollow of Jacob's thigh was out of joint as he wrestled with him. And he said, Let me go, for the day breaketh. And he said, I will not let thee go, except thou bless me. And he said unto him, What is thy name? And he said, Jacob. And he said, Thy name shall be called no more Jacob, but Israel. For as a prince hast thou power with God and with men, and hast prevailed. And Jacob asked and said, Tell me, I pray thee, thy name. And he said, Wherefore is it that thou doest ask after my name? And he blessed him there. And Jacob called the name of the place Peniel, for I have seen God face to face, and my life is perverse. And as he passed over Peniel, the sun rose up upon him, and he halt upon his thigh. Therefore the children of Israel eat not of sinew, the shank, which is upon the hollow of the thigh, unto this day, but because he touched the hollow of Jacob's thigh in the sinew that shrank. Okay, dear hearts, that was the end of Genesis chapter 30 through 32. In Genesis 30, Jacob's growing family and his wealth. Rachel and Leah compete for Jacob's love and the children. They give each their maid servants, Bilhah and Zilpah, to Jacob to bear children for them. Jacob ends up with 12 children, 11 sons and 1 daughter at this point. Jacob uses wisdom and divine favor to grow wealthy, increasing his flocks through selective breeding. Now, the key point that I want you to take away from this particular chapter is that God blesses Jacob's labor and fulfills his promise to fight despite family conflict. Now, Genesis chapter 31, God tells Jacob to return home to Canaan. Laban's sons became jealous of Jacob's wealth, and Laban chased after him when Jacob secretly leaves. God warns Laban in a dream not to harm Jacob. Rachel secretly takes her father's idols. Jacob and Laban make a peaceful covenant with Mizpah. Okay, the Lord, that meaning Lord, watch between me and thee. Now, the key point I want you to take away from that is that God protects Jacob and brings him out from under deception into freedom. Now, the last chapter, Genesis 32, Jacob sends messengers and gifts to Esau. Now, at this point, he was in fear of his life, Jacob was. He thought that Esau would kill him, for the revenge of him stealing his birthright and his blessing. So he prays earnestly for deliverance. And then that night, Jacob wrestles with a divine angel. And his hip is touched. Okay, because at that point they had wrestled. Now, the key point I want you to take away from this is that before they reconciled, Jacob must be changed, and he encountered this with God. God is giving him a new identity and a new destiny. I hope you enjoyed those chapters there. Continue to stay tuned to more upcoming chapters and explanations. Until we meet again, dear hearts, be blessed.